Alright, yes, I get it. It's not an Airsoft video, but it's called Gun Gamers, goddammit, so just watch the fucking video. Alright, cool. Pause. Listen, 5 is a great game and all that, it's cinematic, and it's got a cool trailer, but first off, the game's been out for a while, and second, it doesn't really shout Battlefield like I want it to, so let's take you back to something that actually does. It's March 2010. I'm chilling at my mom's house just after school, The Undertaker just retired Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania, and Orca just murdered someone at SeaWorld, and I'm sitting in the toxic cesspit that is an Xbox Live party chat. I'm talking to a few of my friends that I've been gaming with, and we're talking about a brand new game that's piquing our interest. I had no idea the amount of fun I was about to have. Over the last decade, there have been innumerable first-person shooters that have been released. Some have been good, some have been bad, and some have been great. Instant classics even. In the last category, you have games that have changed the face of the industry for one reason or another. This category is graced by the likes of Call of Duty 4, the Red Orchestra series, the Halo series, and pretty much anything released on the Source engine. However, there's one game that sticks out in my mind that is as close to perfect as it gets in the modern era FPS genre. Battlefield Bad Company 2. So let's talk about Bad Company. What is it? Well, as an introduction to the game for the unfamiliar, Battlefield Bad Company 2 is a game that was released in March 2010 on PC, Xbox 360, and the PlayStation 3. It is a sequel to Bad Company 1 and was developed by DICE and published by EA. It is a modern-era FPS that includes both a campaign and a multiplayer. It is a game that combines warfare on sea, air, and land, with equal emphasis placed on both gameplay as an infantryman, as well as a crew member in a number of different vehicles. The campaign begins with players taking on the role of American commandos storming a beach controlled by the Japanese in 1944. But the rest of the game is played out as a member of a squad of soldiers transferred from a penal unit in the United States Army to the CIA's Special Activities Division, fighting battles against the Russians and later South American soldiers across Russia, South America, and aboard a cargo plane above the United States. The multiplayer takes place across a number of different battlefields in South America and the US. It features US forces fighting Russian soldiers in a number of different game modes, including Rush, Conquest, Onslaught, Squad Rush, and Squad Deathmatch. Now, with all that introductory nonsense out of the way, let's get to what made Bad Company 2 into the classic that it is today, starting with the campaign. Unlike a number of first-person shooters released over the last decade, Bad Company 2 has a campaign that is actually memorable. It stars a colorful cast of soldiers reprising their role from the previous game, all a part of the fictional U.S. Army penal unit, Bad Company. The squad consists of Preston Marlowe, Haggard, Sweetwater, and Sarge. Marlowe is the mild-mannered protagonist, Haggard is the loudmouth Texan with an affection for explosives and fighting with Sweetwater. Sweetwater is the constantly talking electronics nerd of the group, and Sarge is the leader, who is seemingly always 3 days from retirement and loves to tell Sweetwater to shut his mouth.
And Sweetwater, just shut up.
What? I didn't say anything. But you just did. That's not fair. Here we are, but what am I?
Shut up.
The US is currently embroiled in a war against Russia, and the soldiers of Bad Company are performing counter-intel ops in an attempt to secure an HVT. After completing the starting mission and barely escaping with their lives, they are sent to South America to secure another HVT, storm a satellite station, discover a ship stranded in the middle of the Atacama Desert, and fight their way through a cargo plane before somehow finding themselves free-falling from 30,000 feet. But I'm not going to spoil it for those who haven't had the privilege of playing this campaign. And as much as this sped-up version of the campaign sounds like the story of some forgotten first-person shooter, the personalities and writings of the character make it more than memorable. Combine this with a great environment, solid sound design, and satisfying gameplay, and you come to realize why this game is a classic. But that's not what most people remember about Bad Company 2. Now down to the nitty-gritty, and the moments that we all remember from Bad Company 2, the multiplayer. At its surface, it's pretty simple and standard. 4 classes all with unique uses in combat. You've got the door-kicking assault class, one of 2 masters of medium range, equipped with an assault rifle, a grenade launcher, and an ammo container to resupply friendlies. Then you've got the engineer, a vehicle specialist who can repair friendly vehicles with his drill, and then crush enemy vehicles with a slew of rocket launchers or his anti-tank mines. Then you've got the medic class, another master of medium range. He's got a belt-fed machine gun, which gives him unparalleled longevity in a firefight, and comes rocking a health kit to heal your dumb teammates, and then also has a pair of defib paddles to revive your dumb teammates. Finally, you have the mostly useless, the recon class, that, whereas theoretically, this class gives the ability to be extremely versatile, with a long-range capability as well as the ability to spot out enemies using your motion sensor, blow up enemies in their vehicles with your C4, and deny them key terrain with mortar strikes. It usually ends up with them sitting in a bush on hardcore mode with their M95 sniper rifle with magnum ammo, getting 1 or 2 kills or missing every shot and then just getting obliterated. So mostly, I'm just gonna move on. These classes are very simple, but when combined with helicopters, tanks, APCs, boats, UAVs, Humvees, and quad bikes, the fight gets complicated very quickly. As someone who played mostly Rush, I remember Bad Company 2 multiplayer being unbelievably chaotic, with constant gunfire coming from all directions, explosions shaking the ground and changing the landscape, groups of enemies getting torn apart by fire from vehicles, buildings collapsing, and engineers blowing cover apart with the Carl Gustav. Gunplay was fairly well balanced, with the only thing that could really cause havoc for a team being an ace pilot. However, there were plenty of counters to those pilots, namely tank cannons and AT-4s and tracer darts and pretty much any rocket launcher. However, with that in mind, the game's still a blast. A player can do well with pretty much any weapon they put their hands on. The time to kill is in the Goldilocks zone, not too fast, not too slow. The ragdolls were hilarious and the kills were unbelievably satisfying, with your character screaming knock-off action movie lines from time to time for you and your teammates to hear.
Holy fuck, that was close!
The fundamentals of the game were incredibly solid, and it just got that much better when you dropped into a crowded server and the chaos factor got turned up to 11. I remember so many evenings coming home from school or football practice, booting up my 360 and having hours of fun on Bad Company. The game separated itself from other best-selling FPSs released at the time by requiring teamwork and a combined arms approach to the fight. If you have too many assault players, who's going to revive people, spot people, or fix vehicles? The game required balance for a team to be successful, and it made the player adapt, alongside a constantly changing environment and landscape. The environment was nothing short of breathtaking at its release in 2010, and can still hold up to this day. Sure, at this point, it's not the prettiest game, but the encapsulating feel that this game gives you is tremendous. That comes from the sound design, which is excellent, even by today's standards. High-quality headphones will drop you into the uniform of the soldier you're controlling while he's having a firefight in the streets of Eureka Harbor. You'll hear gunfire, explosions, friendly forces screaming and shouting, hostiles breathing their last breath, and it all sounds real. The game is immersive beyond belief, and the environment constantly changing to do nothing but help this. The sight and sound of buildings collapsing after suffering heavy damage felt huge. The sight and sound of tanks, Humvees, and on-foot infantry charging enemy positions felt cinematic, and the war-torn map viewed in the post-game screen was just another reminder of the dynamic and evolving fight that is every round of rush or conquest in this game. And the sound of teammates screaming,
"How you like me now, bitch?"
interrupting bursts of sustained machine gun fire is just another part that will get your heart pumping before you burst into laughter during the single player when Sweetwater reminds you that you don't want them to send some
special ops douchebags with pussy-ass heartbeat monitors on their guns instead of us.
So there's one thing that I've neglected to mention so far in this video about Bad Company 2, and it's what I consider to be arguably the greatest DLC released in Battlefield's franchise history. Bad Company 2 Vietnam. Whereas with other games that were released around the time of Bad Company 2, you might get 4 or 5 new maps and a new game mode, Bad Company 2 stuck your character in a time machine and shot you back to the 60s. It gave you 5 new maps, in addition to the already outrageous number of normal maps included in the base game, and the tremendous number of throwbacks from the previous game. It also replaced all the vehicles with vintage versions appropriate for the era. It gave the character access to new weapons and changed the factions into their era-appropriate versions, the US and the NVA. The DLC was nothing short of phenomenal, not only giving players access to a whole new world to explore and fight in, but giving it to the player for the same price as the map pack in Call of Duty. There's nothing cooler than hauling ass across the map at a Huey, bombarding VC with rockets and machine gun fire, while Fly the Valkyries or Fortunate Son played in the background. Oh, I forgot to mention, the DLC also added nearly 50 songs from the era of the soundtrack that could be blasted from your speakers in your vehicle while you're careening around the battlefield. All in all, the Battlefield Bad Company 2 experience was nothing short of great, and it was an instant classic. While it didn't have the player count like games in the Call of Duty series or games in the Halo series, it had the character to make up for it, and it still has a die-hard player base that fills numerous servers on PC at literally any time of the day. People who experienced the game are still hoping that the next Battlefield release is going to be Bad Company 3, no matter what year it is. We hope during the lead up to Battlefield Hardline, we hope during the lead up to Battlefield 1, and we hope during the lead up to Battlefield 5, but to no avail. Both Bad Company 1 and 2 always had something about them that no one could really put their finger on that made them great. Aside from the excellent gameplay, vehicle combat, map design, environment, and DLC, there was always a sense that you were in an action movie while you're playing it. A combination of those aforementioned factors that made the battles epic, but in the true sense of the word. Since 2010, DICE and EA released Battlefield game after Battlefield game, but none really captured that feeling that Bad Company 1 and 2 gave us. In an interview, DICE literally said they don't know what made players love Bad Company 2 so much, and that kind of boggles my mind. Each round of Bad Company 2, you felt like you were playing a trailer for the game anytime you played it. And that epic battle feeling one got was recreated to an extent in other games like Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4, but just not to the same scale as Bad Company 2. Which is kind of wild because battles fought in Bad Company 2 were capped at 32 players compared to the 64 of every game released since then. All I can say at this point is that I hope to God DICE figures out why players love the Bad Company games so much. And I hope to God the name Bad Company is featured in a Battlefield release soon. Because in my opinion, it's arguably the best Battlefield game EA has released.
Thank you for watching this video from Gun Gamers. We hope you enjoyed watching it as much as we enjoyed making it. Check the description below if you'd like to buy a t-shirt or a patch, and use the coupon code JUDY10 for 10% off of your next order at Amped Airsoft. Thank you again for watching, and praise Judy.